Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
WWF Wrestling Superstars Game is a game right out of the 1980s, I think. And you're going to have Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper, and all the guys you may have grown up with. The Junkyard Dog is in this thing. So you're going to be doing what's really a tag team wrestling match, I think. And you're going to be having one guy outside the ring and inside. You got to win inside, then you swap locations, and your guys moving around the ring outside in order to give you bonuses. What the game is going to come down to, you're going to have two guys in a ring. You're going to roll the dice, move somebody outside, you're going to battle inside the ring, and hope you get the pin. Now, there are ways like specialty moves, sort of, that you can utilize. And while this is an old game, and this is an old game, there's nothing modern about this game whatsoever. It was a cash-in at the time, and it gives you nothing more than that right now. But what is interesting about it, while it stretches kind of what's happening in the world of wrestling, because from the outside, you think the wrestling match is the entertainment, but it's actually the storyline and everything going on around it that's actually the interesting part of it, and kind of what you're rooting for, the guy walking to the ring and the music and his poses and his catchphrases and the storylines that are going on. But this is going to center around the actual action in the match, and it comes down to a die roll. It's not that interesting. Now, when the guy's moving around, there's some ways to move him, to add to your score and stuff, but that's also determined by a die roll. So, not very interesting. Now, for younger kids that may have been into this, 5, 6, 7, 8 at the time, I think this would have been more exciting, but it's definitely not a good game. Wrestling has been one of those games that has been very difficult to translate into board game world. Book It was interesting because you're card drafting, but you're looking at it from a promoter standpoint. You're Vince McMahon, you're Tony Khan, you're Eric Bischoff. You're back a little bit further from the action. You're not in the action. Now, games about the action. I did like the Royal Rumble board game or card game. That was pretty fun, but you never really feel like I'm the one doing it. And there was one by Gale Force 9 that came out. It kind of hit with a thud. It was okay. Some of these are stronger than others, but there's yet to be that definitive wrestling game. Wrestling Superstars is probably not going to do it for you. The nostalgia of having Tito Santana, and these guys in there, and the Hulkster, and Andre. Who doesn't want to be Andre? Everybody's going to fight over being Andre, right? It's nostalgic. That is interesting and fun in its own right, but it's not going to translate into a game that you're going to want. Now, if you got a little guy and he happens to still know these guys, or maybe you know the history of wrestling pretty well, this might hit it. But this is really a period piece, something you want in your collection because it's an early WWF game. I mean, this has some of the guys that you probably know from the 70s and early 80s, like the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. So some older guys in this one. But this is strictly going to be a nostalgic thing at this point. The game is okay if you want something to sit down with your kid and roll some dice, maybe. Not a whole lot to see here. For me, I could see you keeping out nostalgia, but everything else is going to be a purge. Here is WWF's Wrestling Superstars Game. You can see a nice picture of the Hulkster and all of the people on it. Then you're going to have a big box. I should note that the instructions are on the inside of the box. This is very common back then. You're going to get a pretty cool looking board actually for the time period. It's going to be the ring, which is kind of cool with the place for the people to start out with. And then this little thing that goes around outside of the ring, I guess. These are the turnbuckles that will be coming off. So it's a pretty well designed little board here that you're going to have. Now when you open it up, this used to be really popular back in the day with Milton Bradley. Underneath this, you're going to see the different characters that will be in the game. I'll go through some of these. Nikolai Volkov, Roddy Piper, Hillbilly Jim, Magnificent Morocco, Paul Orndorff, Big John Studd, Tito Santana, the Iron Sheik. You're going to have Hulk Hogan, the Hulkster himself, Andre the Giant, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and the Junkyard Dog, also known as JYD. These are kind of cool because the little pins that you're going to have, which will roll around the board and everything, will fit right in here. Everybody has a little biopic with their weight and kind of their favorite hold and what they're wanting to do. You're going to get these little standees that will be used during the game, and then each character, you have some dice. There's regular sided die, 6-sided die, will have a standee that will go with them. And they're all colorful and very nice. You can see they're colored on both sides with the name of the wrestler at the bottom. And each of these guys will have one, and they look fantastic. So these are pretty good components, actually, especially for the time period the game was released. So let's talk about the rules. I'm not a real big fan of rules printed on the inside of the box, although it does work and cuts down on paper, I suppose. And most people probably aren't going to lose the box top, right? Tells you the object of the game, the contents without pictures, the big wrestling superstars there. Setup and gameplay, these rules are kind of a mess. It's not a very good game, and the rules make it a lot more challenging than it should be. How to win and tournament rules. To be very honest with you, I could not figure out how to play this game. I had to go online and watch a video. Luckily, there was one online. It was very difficult to learn from these rules. They're pretty horrendous. So everybody's going to pick two characters with a certain color of Hillbilly Jim and Junkyard Dog right there, which I guess they will go over here. And then we'll have Hulk Hogan with his partner, Andre the Giant. We'll also see Nikolai Volkov and Iron Sheik, former tag team champions. And we'll have Big John Studd and Rowdy Piper together here. Each player will take the wrestler that they are, or both of them, and put two of these white ones into the favorite holds, and you're ready to start playing the game. Everybody will take dice of the colors, and you'll be ready to start playing. So what you're going to do on a turn, let's say I'm Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, you're going to roll the dice, and you can move your character on the outside of the ring number of spaces, either 4 or 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I can move it 1, 2, 3. During the game, you're going to have two of these to start the game out with, but you'll be using these favorite holds as you go. If you land on a tag team space, you were to roll doubles, or you land on the favorite hold. So this one says leg drop for Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is the inner one. So if you landed on the outside run, the leg drop space, which is right here, then the inside person would gain another favorite hold, and you would get a third one, which you can use these, and I'll explain how these are used later. But just know, for all purposes, roll doubles, tag team, or on the inside the ring person's favorite hold, which is at the bottom here, will get you an additional favorite hold marker. Then you'll move the person on the inside, or in this case, Hulk Hogan, and you can challenge any three of the other people. Let's say Hogan wants to fight Rowdy Piper, then they both would come into the center of the ring. So then you have a decision to make. You can use one of your favorite holds. If you do, you automatically have a number 5, or you could use the number of the space that your partner's on. So Hogan's partner is Andre the Giant. His space is 2, so Hogan would have a power of 2. Rowdy Piper's is on tag team, so he's 2. So let's say Hogan wants to use one of his favorite holds, and that will now be a 5. Rowdy Piper decides not to for whatever purpose. They will roll the dice. The green dice will represent Hogan, and the white one will represent Rowdy Piper. So, because we used the favorite hold, Hogan has a 5, plus the die roll 5 equals 10. Here, his partner has a 2, with a roll of 1 would make it 3. So since Hogan's is higher, he will gain 1 of these pins, and that would go right in there to signify that he successfully made this move on Rowdy Piper. And then you would move back into your corners. If you were to get your third pin for that character, let's say Hogan did, then he would remove the 3 white ones, and he would get a 1 match victory. At that point, he would switch spaces with his outside one, so Andre the Giant would come in, Hogan would come outside, and then if Andre the Giant is able to win a match also, then both sides, Hogan and Andre would be the winner. So first one for each of their players to win a match will become the winner, which means you have to do 3 of those rolls victories, and then you'll be able to be the winner. Who should buy this game? Collectors. If you're a big fan of WWF, strictly from this time period, or you like these kind of guys, but I don't think any little kids nowadays going to know this, but this is a product that was created in its time period to come out then. During that time period, I think it would have been fairly popular if you were a fan of the intellectual property. For everybody else, this is a Purge, not much of a game here whatsoever.